Hey, welcome back to, I guess it's our fourth, Scott.
It is our
Prop
fourth.
Talk.
It's
This
number
is
4.
Prop Talk, the official podcast of the Property Masters Guild, and our guests today are some voices we haven't heard from before on this. So I'm very, very happy to introduce two people. We have Miss Olivia Dom, who is a very accomplished property assistant, as well as the first ever associate board member on the board of the Property Masters Guild.
Wow.
Thanks for coming.
Hello.
And we have Alfonso Ramirez, who, among other things, is the first ever recipient of the Property Masters Guild Awards Presidential Award. So many words there. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
To take home a MacGuffin last year, so that's very exciting.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And I'm, of course, Brad Elliott here with Scott Buckwald, and we're
Hello,
just so
Brad.
happy that you joined us for this little chat. And it's really exciting that you guys are here because, when Scott and I came on board, we're thinking about voices that we hadn't heard from before. And, there's just, let's talk to another prop master, and we're kind of bored with that. So what's great about you guys is we're here to try to get your perspective from the sort of assistance level on the team. And you both have done many things, but can you just sort of explain how you put up with property masters as you make the department work? I like to ask really open-ended questions.
Well, to be honest, I think the way I always approach my position is obviously you come in with humility and a lot of respect, and I'm willing to learn a lot from whoever your prop master is. Because at the end of the day, they're the face of the department, and they have the experience. And
Hopefully.
well, yes. I mean, a lot of the times in my experience, they have the experience. And the great thing about it is that they come in with their way. That every single person has their own unique way of approaching a project. And I think that is one of the privileges of being an assistant prop master is we know what our responsibilities are on set or on the truck, or if you're a day player, but coming in and seeing their way of doing things, you adjust to their way of doing everything, and you find your method with their method. It kind of combines them and becomes one method.
See, you have a really unique position because I haven't assisted in 30 years. So the only prop master I ever work with now is myself. You guys have the advantage of working with lots of different prop masters. And I've actually learned a lot from the assistants, because every so often an assistant will tell me a different way of doing things because you get to kind of spy on all the other heads of state.
Yes, yes. No, and I think that's like that. Me personally, that's how I learned my job as an assistant prop master.
Can we back up? What is your job? Like, I've my experience with you is running a set,
Yes.
right? The last time I was on set with you was Lanterns.
Yes.
And you were working with the very talented Jeffrey Johnson.
Yes.
So what was your job?
So as the person who's run the set at the beginning, I will come in during prep and make sure that I will help build the shorty or 40, or a 4-ton, which will be the one that's closest to set. And then I'll also go through our trailer and start sorting through things. If we didn't get a chance during the wrap or in our last show, start putting things together. Start to look at things that we need more, whether we expendables. Start making room for all the new rentals. Once everything is accommodated and I go to set, my job is to obviously keep up with the continuity of all the props, be a liaison with different other departments, because as we all know, our props sometimes become part of makeup if the scene requires for someone to put makeup on. Talk to the armor if there's guns involved, costumes if a prop needs to be it becomes part of a costume, and also talk to the directors and the actors. And pretty much just be the information person, be there to facilitate the use of props, overlook the use of props, and give information, especially for the last minute request, whether it be for the day or for the following days to come, to give that information to the prop master or whoever is running the truck. So at least we are ahead of any request or schedule. pretty much.
Do you ever find yourself having to kind of pull the cart a little more on certain shows than others, where the prop master might not be as prepared? Do you find that you'll take over that role if there's a shortage in an area?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I do, especially on shows that run pretty fast. Especially now with that the whole block shooting has become a thing, when you shoot 2 episodes in one block. And on the last show that I was on, there was a lot of changes happening on the day that it didn't matter if you were prepared. You just always felt like you were a couple steps behind. So it was pretty much, sometimes there was no time to tell the prop master, hey, we need this, we need this. It had to go directly to the shopper or to the other assistants, and we just had to get it. And the information that we'll give the prop master is like, this is what's happening now. Like, this is what we're doing. Whatever was discussed in council meetings, it's a no-no now. So sometimes, I've had to have the responsibility of making the decisions.
Yeah, because the show happens on the set.
Yes.
And there's all the meetings
Yeah.
and all the ideas that happen when people say, wouldn't it be nice if? But then you get on the set, and that's where you're actually making the show. And so I don't know where your prop master. Where's Jeff Johnson during all this?
No.
When you're in episodic,
Yes.
the property master has to stay with the long vision, looking down the road, trying to figure out where the landmines are and make sure it's all good. But you're there.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the cool, amazing things when you have that good relationship with the prop master, you get to know them, that you build that sort of trust, and where the prop master understands that sometimes, as the person running the set, you have to make those decisions, and he understands that you're going to make the right decisions. You're not going to bring something that's out of character or is out of the vision of the directors or the showrunners, depending on what project you're working on. And they're comfortable being on the next block, looking at those things and understanding that their team, who is being led by the assistant prop masters on set, are going to make the right choices, and they're not going to get notes from production the following day going, why was this here?
Sure.
So, yeah.
There's definitely that I never want to be surprised.
Yes.
Because there have been times where I'd have a showrunner or a director come up to me and talk to me about something that happened on set, and this is the first I'm hearing about it. And I'll try to cover as if I've already had that conversation.
Yeah.
But that would be the first thing I do, is I'll go to my on-set person and go, why am I hearing about this for the first time? And sometimes the assistant will just say, well, I didn't want to bother you with it. And it's like, it's not bothering me with it. I need to know this kind of stuff, because sometimes the repercussions are a lot further away than you think they are.
Absolutely. No, and that's always like my job. I always approach it like I am a reflection, or everybody who is on set is a reflection of the prop master, right? The prop master is the face of the department. It's the first one in, the last one out sometimes. And whatever decisions we may get, if it's a bad decision, they're going to have a conversation with us on set, a brief conversation, because obviously we're filming. But the big conversation they will have with the prop master, like you said.
And I think every prop master has their own way. Brad, what you were saying is sometimes creative decisions need to be made on set. And that's gonna be up to the on set to decide whether they want to bring the prop master in on that.
Yes.
I tend to be of the thought of, I like to be told for any creative decision, because sometimes a decision that you make on set at the moment, as insignificant as it might sound, or as much as it might sound like it's restricted just to that moment, it might have repercussions for things that I know are going to happen later down the line.
Oh, absolutely. No, yeah. Every time
I don't want to be painted into a corner.
No, yeah, no, absolutely. Every time I had to make a decision, whether it be creatively or just tactical, on set, whether I was working with Doug Fox or Jeff Johnson, I always immediately, when I hear about it, I try to eavesdrop as much as I can. So I like to stay on set next to the director, next to the actors, because that's when the conversations start happening. If I stay by the set card, I'm going to hear it way later.
Yeah.
I try to, if I hear something, I immediately pull my phone, send a text, or call them directly and be like, hey, I'm hearing this, my request for this, what options do you want us to offer? Sometimes they do have an opinion. Sometimes they just go whatever with what you feel is correct.
But ultimately, decisions are made by the people who are there.
Yes.
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 And it's one of the reasons why I like to keep a tighter orbit to set than a lot of other property masters.
Which is me as well.
So
Yeah.
we also have, of course, Miss Livy Dom.
Hello.
Not to be excluded. And you've run sets all, in and of your own right, of course. But a lot of my experience with you is the sort of prop inventory supervisor, which is a title we're trying to push because there was a sort of a truck person and they spelled person with a B. And I always hated that, like, the nickname truck bitch was just horrible. And it wasn't gendered. It was just something when I was growing up, it's like, oh, and you're and it seemed like a diminished or less than responsibility. But I actually think it's one of the hardest jobs in the department.
Yeah.
Will you explain to me, as you know it, why that job is so horrible?
My first experience with it was really my first industry prop position, thankfully. And I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into at the time, but it was with you, Brad, on Rebel Moon.
Was it?
It was.
I need to write stuff down.
Yeah, I got this amazing opportunity, and Brad came to me and said, this is going to be really hard, but if you are able to dive in and learn from this, and I had some of the best teachers in the world on that set, and it was a little bit of, it reminded me of, learning to swim and getting thrown in the deep end. And it was kind of, and it felt like that at times of where, you're just barely treading water, but then, it then begins to kind of click for you because I've gotten asked, how do you do it? How do you keep your composure? And I had a gentleman one time say, I feel like I'm drowning all of the time. Like, I don't understand how you're doing this. And to that I say, that's part of the job. And you have to be comfortable with not completing your list. And that was really hard for me to overcome because I'm super, I like to get stuff done. I like to check off a list. I like to walk away at the end of the day and know that I've done everything I can and finish my day. That's not this job.
So as you understand it, though, like, what are your specific responsibilities?
Absolutely.
Just for the four listeners out there who might not know.
Totally. So my job is that I come in, and my job is I prep the next day, wrap the day before, and also am in the middle there to cover whatever might be needed on set. So I think one time, Brad, you described it. Well, you also described the best prop departments are full of short stops, like in baseball, where everybody can kind of fill in where they see a need. But for the truck person, it is also like that of, where there's a need, you fill it, on top of making sure that we're ready for tomorrow and wrapping yesterday. So I try and start my day with, like making sure that the set is open, everything is where it needs to be, the prop team on set knows, like, we usually have gone over the props for the next day, the night before, but making sure that they have everything set up. If they need help moving, from one location to the other, if they're good, I walk away, I go back to the truck, review my breakdowns, and I look at what's coming up tomorrow. Do we have everything? Is everything ready to go? Sometimes on a really good day, everything is already there and I'm able to build the bins for the next day or the carts. And then I can go and think about, okay, what did we do yesterday? What dishes need to be done? What equipment needs to get put away? What can I do, to restructure and organize the truck or the kit, everything like that. And then sometimes we'll have big, days on set where they need an additional hand. But my priority always, though, is looking forward to the next day, making sure that we're ready to go before, because everything else can wait. But as long as tomorrow's ready to go, then it's good.
Do you find your approach changes from prop master to prop master?
Yeah.
That certain prop masters want something totally different and define your position much differently than some other one does.
I haven't had the opportunity to do a full show as another prop master's truck person. But when I've covered for other truck people, I feel like the priority is still the same of looking forward to tomorrow, getting that done first, and then filling in wherever is needed. Because I think my job is also kind of like a catch where I'm reviewing the breakdowns. If I have the time, thankfully, I'm looking at the script. I'm able to ask questions like, hey, do we have this? Do we have this? Like they call it this in the script, and then asking the prop masters, what was the conversation behind that? So then I can tell the onset team, this is what they discussed. This may be in the breakdown, but that has now since changed.
But between both of you, do you find that amongst all the prop masters, because you do work with so many different prop masters, do you find there's a common denominator amongst all of us something that Brad and I would definitely have in common? Like 90% of our job, we all do the same way? Or do you think there's prop masters who just do things?
We both have beards,
Right.
you know, that kind of past the age
That's
of 50
that's a good
beard thing.
question.
Yeah.
I actually haven't thought about that.
And I'm not talking just attitude. I mean, there's
Yeah,
some
no,
people
yeah.
who are intimidating. There's some people who don't give you enough information. Some people who all of their problems become yours. But I'm just talking about more the technical way that they do things. Do you find that there's basically a certain way to prop master that all of us share?
I mean, at its basic core level, I guess, you know, you read a script, you do
Yeah.
a breakdown, you know.
I think the
You know what I
question he's
mean?
really asking is, who would you rather work for, me
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Scott? That's really where it's coming, I think.
I think like one of the things. I mean, I don't know if it's just part of our craft, but it does feel like every single when I either day play or I'm full time with a different prop master. One of the things that I do realize, I feel like, and I don't know if we are the only department that does this, that we are the people that have to live in the past, present, and
Sure.
the future.
Yes.
And that's something that's very clear with that every prop master has brought into, is like, you know, make sure what's played before, tag it, put it there.
Yeah.
We understand that eventually it's going to move to a different episode, or if it's a feature that it will play later. Like just be as organized and as detailed
Yes.
as possible.
One thing I always say when I interview people when we first start in my initiation is, don't make me have to become the boss.
Yeah.
I'm the department head, which I define as something totally different. If you're doing your job, I shouldn't have to come up and tell you what you did wrong or what you have to stop doing. I don't want to hear an AD tell me, you know, the person is okay, he's a nice guy, but he's always offset talking.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, it's like that shortstop parallel, right? Where you see the need and you fill it. You know,
Yeah.
you move in that direction. And that's been one of, I feel like we both do that where, you know.
No, yeah, absolutely. I call myself, like, if you see something that needs to be done, like, I don't know if it's instinct at this point. You know you have to do it. You go in there. You tell your team. Obviously, information is key.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's. I don't know. Like I feel like at a core level, it is to make sure that, you know, if everybody's on the same page. You know, whether you're on set or offset, be as organized as possible.
Well, you have to be the last line of defense in
Yeah.
our department.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that thing you said, that you hadn't assisted in however many years. I actually like assisting. I was assisting Teresa Corvino. I ran her set yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of the things that what I like about it is that it constantly reminds me of how difficult that job can be, because you're never given the whole picture.
Yeah.
And yet you're the face on the set trying to do the thing. And it can be as simple as this came up yesterday, setting the time on an iPhone so that, you know, in continuity, if the camera caught it, it was at the right time. Simple stuff. But I was never given the code to open the phone. So it's a quick little on the walkie, hey, and you know, it was resolved in 15 seconds. It's
Yeah.
not a big deal. Communication's everywhere. But it reminds me that, like, oh yeah, if I put a phone out there and I give a phone to my key on set, then we actually need to, that's something I need to remember to
Yeah.
tell them. And this isn't a slight against anybody. This is just, I'm always learning this job.
Well, that's why you needed a truck person that
Yeah.
day, because they would have looked at
'Cause
that
they would've
phone,
had
figured
it.
out the code.
Yeah.
At least, you know,
Yeah,
hopefully.
there wasn't enough
Yeah.
budget for any more than it. This was a 2-person department on a little reshoot for Meet the Fockers, another one of those movies. But and it was a lot of fun, actually. It was a really good time. So we were kind of talking about this horrible truck person title that used to be industry standard.
Oh, yeah.
And
See, that's a
it's
term I
hopefully
never would have used that.
I never used
I would
it,
never
but
feel
I've
comfortable
heard it,
talking
you know.
about it.
I would never say it, but it was something that was in the vernacular. Just
And it
to
was
put out a
something that was
fancy
said
word.
to me on my first truck
Same
position.
here, same
Yeah.
here.
So-
yeah.
So one of the things
Welcome
that-
to the industry.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Here's your first job.
Yay.
One of the things that I just put a budget together for a really big project that may or may not come to pass. And one of the things that I was careful to do is actually, and this is something that I know is happening at the guild level, certainly, is to come up with names that aren't just property assistant and assistant prop master. Because right now, as far as the occupation codes go, you basically have property master, assistant property master, of which people expect there to be one. Excuse me. And then you have property assistant. And those mean nothing to people. In fact, most accountants and producers, if they're a little green, don't even understand the difference between property assistant and assistant property master, because why were they? I mean, it's just the same words. So I was starting to come up with things, and I want your opinion on whether you think this is useful or not, because it sort of leads towards increased and adequate staffing. So I was using the term for the assistant property master, who's generally in the office, like keeping everything running at that level, as the key offset props, and then somebody who runs the set, key onset props, and then somebody who's managing the truck, pulling the next scene, putting the toys out in front of the onset team and taking the toys away and putting them back in their boxes after the onset team is done with them. And also, an important part of this job that I don't know if we touched on is knowing where absolutely everything is. Because we deal with stuff. We are the stuff department. And every day, every week, we get more of it. And you've got to find a nook or a cranny to put it into. So prop inventory supervisor came to mind. And I'm starting to use these terms in my budgeting, so that when I turn this stuff into a producer, they don't have to question why. It's like, well, why do you need 4 assistant property masters? Why can't you do it with 3?
Whenever I've tried that, and I try to do the same thing so I could define what each person does, I always get kickback then from the line producer. What do I code this person under?
I just put the OC code right after it,
right?
Because that's all they care about.
Right. Yeah. Ultimately, they want to know, is it a prop assistant or is it an assistant property master, so they know what to pay.
Yeah, that's what they're going to care about. And and when I say OC code, it's occupational code. It's and they have some book with everybody's rate and everything in it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also helpful too, like when you look at the crew list or you look at the call sheet, because other departments are much more specified as to who does what. But, when we did Abbott, I was listed as property truck supervisor, and people knew that they could come to me, like Transpo was coming to me, when we moved to locations, so it was an interesting, it differentiate who was what on site, who to go to.
Where did that term come from?
The property truck supervisor?
Yeah, who?
I believe that was something that was discussed within the guild, and then that was then pitched to me as, would you want your title to be this? And I said, yes, that sounds great.
And when you got your paycheck, was that the
It was
title?
still the OT code.
Yeah,
it's still the OT. Yeah, it doesn't whatever it is in the paperwork. If it's property assist.
See, the two of us were talking the other day. I just think titles in the prop department need to be reworked all around.
Yes.
Comparing as we've been put into the television academy.
Oh, sure.
If we want to start looking at things where we one day are qualified to be to get an Emmy, to get an Oscar, I think terms like property master is not descriptive enough of what we do, because we design props, we create props, we do a lot more. There's a director of photography, there's an art director, a production designer, a costume designer. A prop master, to me, still has a very outdated term where all we really do is our glorified warehouse managers, which is not the case.
Well, I'm into this whole conversation about naming each position on the crew, because it's a model that the costume department has, and it's very successful.
Correct.
And I think that most all of us would probably agree that their staffing is usually a lot stronger, to use that word, than ours is. I recently, well, not that recently, maybe a couple months ago, finished shooting Abbott Elementary season 5, and one of the things that when I was explaining what I needed as far as a department, I explained this sort of truck inventory position, truck supervisor, whatever we're calling it. And they didn't have that before. And, I'm thinking about my friend Skip Torvinen, who retired off that show, but really oh my goodness, that's a big job to not have. And I had to explain it to the producers, well, what does this person do? And when I told them what the job description was, they're like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. You're going to need that person.
Also, by carrying one generic term like property assistant, it allows production to see that person as someone who could do lots of things. Where when you look in the costume department, there is a there is a costume dyer, there is a tailor, there is a fitter. The positions are very, very defined.
Yeah.
To where
I think you made fitter up though. I don't think that's a thing. Is that really costume fitter?
isn't there?
I think we're gonna have to research that one.
Okay.
I'm calling you out.
Well, but there's
But there's not. But it's not just costume designer, assistant costume
Right.
designer, and then a whole department of assistant
No,
costume
exactly.
designers.
right. And there'll be a principal costume supervisor and a background costume supervisor
Yes.
because
And a head fitter.
Yeah, and the key fitter.
Yeah, sure.
And they also are at a point where, because clothes are so personal to actors, that actors come with their own costumers. Could you imagine in the prop department if your key actor on the show had their own prop person on set to bring them their props and to make sure that everything was good? Like, we're nowhere near that. And I think one of the ways that we can start getting a little bit more, I don't know, presence, respect, whatever the word is, certainly adequate staffing, is to really start naming positions like what you guys do, because you're both assistant property masters on an OC code, or maybe in one show one person's the property assistant, and the difference is maybe a couple bucks an hour in pay, but that's about it, because you're still on the team.
Yes.
But it also lets people know how exacting our work is when each position is defined by a title.
No, yeah, I agree, because I do feel that, like, in certain shows you have the prop master, assistant prop master, and then you have prop assist. And when they don't know exactly what each person does, they just look at how many people you have, and they go, well, you should be able to make it work, right?
And that gets back to what I was saying, that if we're a department of 5 people, if everybody is just a prop assistant, they feel, well, your prop assistant, they can go shopping, and when they're not shopping, they can coordinate, and on a slow day, they could organize the truck. Yeah. You don't need, when you give an exact title to somebody, that means all that person is doing is shopping, all that person is doing is food styling. That's what that person is doing.
And it also helps too within the department itself to delineate responsibilities too, that nobody just feels like, oh, like we're all, doing the same thing. It's like, no, one person's responsible for this, one person's responsible for this as well.
Yeah, keep stuff from falling in the cracks, for sure.
Because I even think like when they add day players, they still label them as prop assist.
Sure.
Yeah. And then they look at it as like, well, I don't know. It's like in the last show that I was on, like we were trying to fight real hard to get a third person to be with us, because it was the assistant prop master who was running the set. It was me and the truck person, but we were both labeled as prop assist. And we needed another person to go help, because I was backing up the set person. I was doing village. I was doing background. And at the same time, I was running things back and forth, because a prop person truck person had a trailer and a shorty working out of. So he, at the beginning, had...
Is that because Jeff's truck is just so packed full of junk you don't need that you can't put a show on it?
This was a different show.
This was a different show.
Yeah.
It was not lanterns. And so our truck person, most of the time, had to be on set helping us with, background on set. So he had to give up his responsibilities from, to prep and, go through the stuff, especially when rentals were coming in, to help us on set. And then he would go back to do his job when we were set, and then I had to leave to go help him. So there was this going back and forth, and we were asking for another additional, another prop assist or another person to help facilitate that. But they look at our departments, like, well, you guys have 5 people, like you guys.
But even 5 people is nothing.
No,
Think about
it spreads thin so
But
fast.
it amazes me on shows that I've done where I look at it, and craft service has more people in the prop department.
Yeah.
And
they're not even bringing out like some awesome charcuterie board or anything.
Right.
It's just like they're just slinging donuts.
the last show I did was Ransom Canyon. There were days where we would have 2 units going. It was a Western. We had a lot of food. We had a lot of background. And we were doing it with 5 people. And I had a very good extra man day budget. But they're still coming in without the knowledge of my regulars. Yeah. But then I look at the costume department, and there are so many people. The makeup department, the hair department, transportation. Mm-hmm. There are however many vans always waiting to drive people. Every truck has a person in it.
Yeah.
And the struggle that we have to do sometimes with 5 people. And that's a lot, because years ago, how many times did we have just a 3-person department? 5 seems like it's moved up on episodic.
when we were both, because on your last show you were at the WB lot and I was at the WB lot, how many times did we just pass each other?
yeah.
Like, because we were always moving.
Yeah.
Just always like,
Yeah.
we're always
Step
in
count
motion.
pretty
We're
high.
not,
Yeah.
we're the department with chairs. We're not sitting, you know.
Yeah, no, I was like, constantly like walking by your truck, and I think Andy was also there, Andy Siegel. So I always kept walking by his truck too, because there was this constant walk going back and forth. And then there was a bunch of the times where it was like, had to tell the onset, the key set person was like, hey, I gotta go. Like, you're gonna be on your own for a second, but I gotta go get this stuff because I can't have because our truck person was getting returns ready or going through all the rentals that were arriving. And I was like, well, I'm just going to be walking back and forth through the lot.
Well, I'm hoping that this kind of titling, I really hope it sticks. And in the budget I turned in, I got a bunch of pushback, of course. They wanted me to cut 4 people out of the department. And I just told them well, I don't know who to trim. And putting those titles down, I think, is going to help us all moving forward to both keep the workings inside the prop department pretty clear, as you mentioned, but also just to help defend our need for labor, which is
That's what
tricky.
it's about more than anything
And,
else.
and
being
so
able to
I'm hoping
define
everybody
each job.
kind of pulls that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it will be helpful because obviously in their eyes, all we do is hand out pencils and watches and stuff. It's like,
Pencils are my favorite.
Because then in their eyes, it's like, well, why you need 6-7 people, right? Because all you do is chairs, and then once the chairs are set up, it's fine. It's like, no, well, sometimes you have 300 backgrounds.
Yeah, and they all need a pencil.
And and then you have, as we're propping the background, you guys are moving village. It's like, so we have to, you have to have the help. And sometimes those backgrounds are not just like giving us cell phones. Sometimes when I did 68 Whiskey, it was medical military. So now you're dealing with medical outfits and guns and all that stuff. And so you need to have I feel like it will help them understand.
And no matter how busy you are, no matter how many guns and how many medical equipment pieces you're handing out, in the middle of all of it, you'll have the AD coming on the walkie going, props, we need someone to move the chairs.
Yes.
Because that's always what their priority is.
Yeah. So I do believe that being specific with the titles will help them understand that no, we're not just sitting around waiting for things to happen. Like, there are specific responsibilities that every person in our department have. And there might be sometimes there's a little bit of downtime, we all take a break. But most of the time, in my experience in this department, everybody's always doing something. Whether we're rolling or not rolling, someone's always moving around.
On shows when you have day players, who tends to wrangle the day players in your departments?
Most of the time, when I was Doug's assistant prop master, I was the truck person. That will be me. That was my position. I took the responsibility on that, and to obviously have everybody catch up to our knowledge, because we'll come in not knowing anything about the show. So I will help them. I will delegate responsibilities. Obviously, the on-set person was in charge of our main actors, and his help was one moving village, and sometimes helping with the resets. Sometimes, if there was not a lot of resets, that person will come and help with the background. But I will be the one, because I will be the one prepping the carts for it. So I would delegate, and I will wrangle all the day players to be like, okay, this is what's for background. Once you guys are set up, 2 of you come back to the truck, help me, or if the person on set needs help, stand by, and just so I can get the ball rolling. Because otherwise, especially on those shows that I was working with Doug, they were pretty busy shows. But I felt like that responsibility fell on me, because the on-set person and the person helping the on-set person, they were too busy dealing with so much stuff. And
well, that's also a really good sort of intro to the truck person, the truck inventory super, whatever we're calling them. It's a relatively entry level position in the property department. Like, you don't start your first job running the set. It's a place where you can learn and grow and figure out what everything is and what needs to get done, and how important that job is for supporting everybody. Because I really do believe that the person pulling the next day and putting the stuff away and knowing where everything is, that's a foundational job that everything else is built on. And so, when prop masters pull in a day player, there's usually a reason for it, because we're going to have to justify that to somebody. And so you're given sort of that this is what they're here to do, but it's
Yeah.
also great when you can start managing as well and start working with background, because it really does help teach and reinforce all the things that will be coming later as you move towards the set, if that's your goal, or wherever you want to go.
Yeah, no. So when I was a truck person with Doug, that was like what I did when it came to the the additional day players. I will be the one giving out the responsibilities, making sure that this is. If you have a question about background, this is the PA in charge of it. So go reach out to her. So just so everybody, like the rest of the team who was on set, they have that freedom of just focusing on their jobs. And there were other shows. It's different. I think that people run things differently. But when we get day players, and even when we're working with Jeff Johnson, I let the truck person do that.
Yeah.
So that way we understand where our responsibilities start and when the responsibilities are limited. Because also, like when you're running set, you're too busy dealing with too many people to also deal with.
You can't have the day
additionals.
players coming and asking the on-set questions when they're dealing with the principal actors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it gets, and it's happened sometimes when they say, "Hey, go help the on-set person." Yeah, you have to. But
Sure.
And I not that I expect, but if a day player is going to come and help me on set, I hope that they have given the information. It was like, oh, this is what this show is about. This is number one. This is number two. Because sometimes you don't have the time to really explain. If I need to, I will, because it benefits everybody. But you're too busy dealing with actors' requests, directors' requests.
Yeah, no, the key on
producers.
set has got to manage the top
Yeah.
1 through 5 probably on the call sheet, and that's where that's where it has to stop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, one of the questions we always ask everybody, and I'd love to talk about staffing, because I don't think there's anything more exciting for our listeners than listening to conversations about staffing. But I like to hear everybody's origin story. Like, how'd you get here?
What got
Why
you
are
in the
here?
business?
What got you? Can we start with Miss Dom? Are you okay with that? Can I
Yeah.
put you on the spot?
Sure. So back growing up, I moved around a lot. My family was a military family. My father was in the Navy. And, movies were just the constant companion growing up. I'm sure you can relate, Alfonso. And I loved just gorging on the behind the scenes featurettes of DVDs and listening to comments. So I was always interested in being behind the camera. How do you make stuff work? And when I was in high school, I did a lot of cosplay building. So building costumes, and my senior project was, I didn't know it at the time, but it was a showcase of prop building. I did I did textile, I did 3D printing, I did, handcrafting, different costumes for my projects. And so, but I didn't, when I went to school, and I did go to a film school, I didn't know what it was specifically that I wanted to pursue. I knew that I liked being behind on set. I knew that I liked writing. I knew that I liked editing, but I didn't have a full niche that I fell into. So I kind of did a little bit of everything.
Did you ever PA?
I did PA, and I was able to.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, I was a PA through college, and I got an internship at Disney through their photography media unit, which was really exciting. And I had a job all lined up for my last semester of school to PA on a Disney Plus streaming show. And then COVID happened, and everything shut down.
So you were a COVID baby.
Yeah, I was class of 2020. So they sent us all home. And through this incredible timing circumstance, my parents met a construction coordinator who lived in the neighborhood that my mother had just moved to, John Hoskins. And I met him and his family. And then when his daughter, Bree Hoskins, visited, I got to meet her and her husband, Jason. And they are both production supervisors. And I said, here's my resume. Would love to, if there's ever an opportunity, let me know. And this was up in the Central Coast. And a couple months later, I get a call from Jason's production coordinator, and said, would you like to come down and be a PA on Marvel's Eternals? And I said yes. And within 2 days, I was in LA.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice.
that's my origin story for sure. But
How'd
yeah.
you find the prop department?
I
know the answer,
You know.
but I know
The rest of us don't.
Yeah.
I PA'd for some reshoots for Eternals, and my first prop master that I met was James Eddy, who was prop mastering those reshoots, and I was like, this is so cool. Look at all these props. This is so cool. Still didn't quite know what it is I wanted to do because they were so fast, you know. And then my next show following that was full-time on Kenobi. So I was a production office assistant there, and through the job of making everybody's crew badges, I'm really good with flashcards. I knew everybody's name on set. I knew what they looked like. So they were constantly sending me down to the set to drop off paperwork, to ask a question, to find, you know, whoever. And that was how I met Brad Elliott. And on his
That's me.
That's you. And on his prop truck, there is a giant light up Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
And I went, this is a really great place to be. So I professionally, I think, bothered him and his crew as much as I could without shirking my responsibilities or, not doing my job. I didn't just abandon my position, but I was very interested in what they were doing. And his on-set team, I think, was really confused that I was asking very technical questions as to how they were resetting the lightsabers and how all of these props worked. And I was I was so interested, and it really kind of ignited, this kind of like light in me of this is something that I think I want to do. And so.
As a PA, did you look at other departments too?
I did,
because
yeah.
It's a great position. It's kind of like the first day of summer camp. You get to look
It's
at all
so
the different activities and figure out which one you want to be on.
It was such a great position to be in because I had access to everybody and I was able to ask everybody questions. And
right from day one, you're not going to be a grip.
Of course,
Kermit the Frog or C-stands.
and it's a Star Wars show too, so everybody's doing something cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, we also have lightsabers.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was actually something. So, in Miss Dom's spare time, I'd see her bouncing around the lot, and she'd pop up on the trailer, and I'm like, all right, well, if you're gonna hang out here, come learn something. And one of the things that we had going on a lot, and I think this is one where the first time I started to put some tools in your hand, was our lightsabers would break because Ewan and Hayden would hit hard with those things. And, the LED tape that was inside of them is 4-channel, addressable. It's tiny little diodes, but you can do a lot with this kind of stuff. It just breaks when it's asked to flex the wrong way. And so one of the things that I was doing on the trailer, because, my shop team would go home at a reasonable hour, is I would fix them. And it's a technical process that I don't need to get into, but it involves, tiny little soldering of tiny little micro things. And Livi seemed interesting. So I'm like, okay, well, and I gave her some busted, tape. I'm like, well, solder this back together. Let's see how it goes.
I'm so sorry. You did say Livi seems interesting, which I'm taking that as a huge compliment.
Interested. Yeah. And interesting. It was COVID. We couldn't see your face. I was just imagining what your mouth. I don't know. So it's but you caught on really fast. And one of the things that I think, and Scott, you may agree, is one of the things you can't teach is smart. And when you find somebody who is smart, they can kind of learn to do everything. And because you sort of over the shoulder figured out soldering and understood DMX control and addressable RGBW LED tape, that's where on Rebel Moon,
Yeah. So I bothered Brad and his team as much as I could, and then the show ended, and I gave him, we exchanged information and kept in touch. And I actually was offered to move on to like the next show that production team was doing. But that job, while it was perfect for learning, what a film crew was like and all the different positions and everything, being in the production office wasn't the right fit for me. And so I took a little bit of a gamble, but my gut said, don't do this. Just hold off 1 second, because something good's gonna happen, some opportunity. And I knew that if I were to move on, I would be in that show for however many months it ran, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to accept another opportunity if it came up. And thankfully it did, where I was able to hop onto Rebel Moon as a props PA, as a props props office assistant. So.
Yeah, and then we had on Rebel Moon we had a lot of props with addressable LEDs in them, and I had somebody on the hook who knew how to deal with this stuff that was already in the union. And he bailed sort of at the last minute because of a family emergency. And I'm calling the hall trying to find somebody who could both be a property assistant and understood the complexity of what new props with their own internal lighting sources require and could be able to diagnose and repair them. And I'm like, well, I have somebody in the office right now. And the hall, we were pretty busy in town, and the hall couldn't fill that call. I knew nobody. I asked around. And so it was time to talk about bringing Miss Dom into the union because of that very specific skill set.
Yeah. That was really fun.
Yeah. And I probably regret it. You probably regret it every day that you're just like, damn, I should have taken that other job. But here we are.
No.
Alfonso, how'd you get into this? I also kind of know the answer to this question, but our listeners won't.
When I grew up watching film because of my dad. When my dad was young, before he had a family, he used to distribute film to different movie theaters around town. So he was exposed to films from the golden age of Mexico and of the United States. So he grew up watching film, and when my older brother was born, he would play movies with the hope that he might be interested, will be interested, and he wasn't. So then I came along, and I was interested. So at a younger age, in Betamax, I remember we would be watching movies. I didn't really know who was doing what. All I remember was that I was, glued to the television. I was interested on what was happening. Obviously, the titles that stuck to my head at the end or the credits were the obvious ones that people who don't work in the industry and are more familiar with, which would be actors, writing. Because I didn't even know what producers did, but directing, writing.
I still don't.
Yeah, none of us know what
too.
producers
Mostly
don't
they
know
say no.
Yeah.
Right. Producers don't know what producers do.
Can I have it? No.
Yeah. And so I remember, obviously, growing up as a kid, I loved dinosaurs. And I remember seeing commercials on the TV for the movie Jurassic Park, and I was 5 years old, and I kept bugging my parents that if we could go to the movies. Going to the movie theaters for us was a luxury. It's not that we didn't have the money, but it was an expensive hobby for us to do. So, long story short, my mom saved up money and didn't really tell me that we were going to go see Jurassic Park at the theaters, and that was the first film I ever saw in the theaters. We went and saw it, and I knew I wanted to do movies when I was a kid. I just didn't know what. Watching that movie, one of the things that I didn't understand was when the T-Rex comes out of its paddock, or her paddock, my expression, I remember looking to my left, and it was a couple, an adult couple, and their expression was the same as my expression. And I didn't understand why a 5-year-old had the same facial expression as a 40-year-old and why a 40-year-old had the same expression as me. And so when we walked away from the movie theater, my mom asked me, what do you think of the movie? And my response was I want to do that. I want to create something or help create something that makes us all feel the same.
That was exactly what happened to me.
How'd you get there then? What was the path from that 5-year-old? And we're gonna have to fast forward through a few years.
Yeah, no. So then
just jump ahead till 7.
Let's go to 7. We'll skip 6.
Obviously, I wanted to do it, and none of one of my family are in the industry, so they didn't know how to. But so when I was 15, my mom said I was studying electrical engineering in Mexico because there was no venue for me to work in film or theater, which what I ended up starting doing. She told me to move to LA. She's drop out of school, move to LA.
Wow, that is huge. That's a lot of support.
And it's do if you really want to try this, go to where it is.
Did you have family here, or
I have my uncles in here,
okay.
So I moved in with them. And I enrolled in theater at school in Claremont. I did theater. After that, I went into college. I applied for a lot of film schools in college. I got rejected. So then I ended up going to Cal Poly Pomona to the theater department. Mm-hmm. I graduated from there. Then I started doing, I was a PA for AFI films after, because I worked in theater for a little bit for different playhouses around in Pasadena. but I knew I wanted to do film. I enjoy theater still, but I knew I wanted to break into film. So I started as a PA for AFI for their thesis, and I didn't know how to get into the other departments. Kind of like how you were saying, like it's a very unique position because you get to see what everyone does.
PAing is great. I loved PAing.
And I knew that one of the things that the PAs were doing during lunch, they all got together in their own table because obviously all the people from AFI, they all sat on their table. So I just started sitting at their table during lunch and asking questions about their craft and what they do and how did they get into it and whatnot. And I met a producer major who was dating a person at the time who was a production designer major. And after talking to her about my theater experience, she said, you know what, I'm going to put you in touch with my boyfriend because he's going to do his thesis and he might need a prop master. And so that's what I ended up doing. And we went to, I think we were at CBS Radford shooting his thesis, and I was working out of my Civic at the time because I have cell phones in my trunk and all that stuff. And I had a line of background just waiting to get propped up.
Was this your first time on a backlot, on a studio lot?
Yes, it was my first time doing it. And
what did you think?
I from being 5 years old watching movies to actually being at a backlot, and it was just a short film. In my head, I was like, I made it.
It's exactly. Like, I had started in New York, so there were no studios. It was all just location shooting in New York. So I had been in the industry maybe 5 years before I finally, and then I moved out to LA, and I was here about 2 years before I finally got on a backlot.
Yeah.
And it was Universal.
Oh, nice.
And it's just amazing because I feel like I finally arrived.
Yeah, no,
see these big stages and backlots and city buildings. It was just amazing to me. I couldn't believe this is what I was doing for a living.
Yeah, no, it was really surreal. Like, and I still think it's surreal. Like, I still get that feeling.
Oh, I still love being on a backlot.
And when I was propping up the background for the short film, there were a couple of people from Hallmark doing location scouts, just scouting around. And I guess they were in need for a property person because they saw me and they knew immediately what I was doing because they were sending out phones and stuff. And they asked me, I was like, hey, we're looking for someone for a Hallmark company. Would you be interested? And I was like, oh, of course. And so obviously all that was non-union. I worked for them for a few years. Then I found out about the difference between working non-union and union. And I was like, I want to do union shows because my friend Daniel Mana and I were like huge Star Wars fans. Yeah. And we were both talking, just like, we need to get on a Star Wars show, but you need to be in the union. So
well, and there's a real glass ceiling there, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, and so trying to get, like, I got my days on shows that flipped. Obviously, my friend Steve Ochoa, who was in the union at the time, he helped me get those days. And it was through Greg Bilson that I met Doug Fox, and I didn't know who Doug Fox was at the time. I was just, helping the on-set person, and eventually that led into an assistant prop master position. But I had to do a couple of on-set dressing for a year at the beginning when I joined the union until I found my way into the property. Mm-hmm. And I realized that when I was doing on-set, like, I love being on set. I love dealing with the actors and having to think, things. But when I started doing props, I didn't know that was the one thing I was already interested in when I was a kid. Because you don't know what you're holding when you watch a movie and you build things and you build a gun out of Legos or a lightsaber out of Legos. You don't realize that that's like what you're interested in, and I think that's very magical because it's kind of like what they say, like, we do our job right when it goes unnoticed. And so when I started doing props, I realized that that's the way of storytelling that I want to do is with props. Like,
I like what you just said when you were talking about building lightsabers with Legos and all of that. Because I think in talking to different prop masters, it's one thing I found very common, that a lot of us had that seed when we were kids. Because I was always the kid building tree houses, doing basically prop mastering when I was 7 years old, and not realizing that one day I was going to find a way to actually get paid to do it.
Yeah, it seems like we're all makers.
And it was a really nice discovery, realizing that it was actually in Lanterns, because I grew up reading comic books, and obviously watching the Justice Leagues, and Green Lantern was one of my favorite characters, and so it wasn't until then I realized like I used to pretend like, I had a ring in my finger and manifesting all these crazy things when I was a kid.
And you're still pretending now, you're just getting paid for it.
No, it's different.
You're just pretending at a higher level.
Right. And so, It was a nice realization going like, this is something subconsciously that I know that I've always wanted to
Well,
do.
and it completes a circle for you too,
Yeah.
because you're the kid getting blown away by Green Lantern, and now you're producing.
Yeah.
You're really contributing.
Yeah.
To producing a product that I don't think it's out yet. I can't wait to see it. But there's gonna be that 5-6-year-old kid that's gonna watch that show.
The result of your work.
And they'll be. It's really self-propagating.
Yeah, no, and it's that's one of the reasons why I realized it's like this was the industry I wanted to be part of, because it inspires.
So this leads
people.
me to the next question, and I would love to know. You guys are, Scott and I, we're screwed. We're prop masters. We're stuck. We're, in poker terms, we are pot committed. There's, there are other things, production designer maybe, but I don't see that for me.
Nah.
I don't see producer. I just this is, I think, where I'm at. What are your ambitions? Do you want to stay where you are forever and ever, or what? Where do you see your
Prop
career
master or
moving?
chorus girl?
I mean, personally, I'd like to be Batman
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be.
But if
or
you
a
could-
pirate.
Yeah.
Ooh, pirate Batman.
Ooh.
Everything is gravy at this point. Like I didn't expect to be where I am at this point.
Here?
So yeah,
On,
here
on
at
Prop Talk.
Yeah,
this
Prop
is
Talk.
That's
this
it.
is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
This
All
is
right.
it.
It's all downhill
It's
from
all
here,
downhill
Liv.
from here. No, I mean, I think right now, it's not that I don't have ambitions. It's that right now I'm so happy and proud of where I am right now and what I'm doing, that I want to take this time to learn and just learn and work with as many people. Like I have, a bucket list of genres that I want to do.
Do you want a prop
props.
master one day?
Maybe, but I think graduating at COVID taught me that I don't know what the next 10 years are going to look like, what the next 3 years are going to look like, next 6 months are going to look
Yeah,
like. So
especially now.
So what I'm doing though is that every job I'm taking, I'm trying to learn a little bit more than I did on the last one. And a lot of the times these prop departments I'm working with have given me the opportunity to fit in different positions within the department. So yeah, ultimately, I would like to prop master something someday and learn, and experience that for myself. But, I'm leaving myself open to, I don't know what I'm going to bet my pot on yet. I still want to, plan B is paleontology, like
Of
that's,
course.
yeah, right? Like,
How about you? Where do you see yourself prop mastering, or
Yes,
do you like working the set?
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things that after running sets and working with different, when I was day playing with you guys on Rebel Moon or the Old Man.
On Old Man.
Yeah, like it's definitely one of those things that I admire a lot, from you guys, because then I watch shows and then I just get completely overwhelmed and going like, how the hell did they do this, And then being part of those teams and being part of those experiences and seeing them, to me, is very inspiring. And I do tell myself one day, learn from them, because one day you could be in that position.
So when you were on Old Man, what was going through your head? Do you show up just to, because you were working with a lot of background?
Yeah.
We were working up at Blue Cloud.
Yes, it was a lot of different places that we were working on, but yeah, look, yeah.
So do you find it overwhelming, because that was a fairly big show when you came in on it? Is it overwhelming and you're just kind of thrown into the middle of it, or what was going through your mind when you were on that show?
I think that the part that overwhelms me is when I find out who I'm working for or working with, and then I go well, yeah, I grew up watching their projects, and so to me it's still that fantastical part that's I'm being part of history, right? Because these people are legacy. In my opinion, these people, it's the reason why I'm here, and so. Yeah, the background stuff is I've always pushed myself to do the best, because I'm working with the best. The people that are teaching me something valuable. That are helping me get to the next part.
Because I found on Old Man, we didn't have an opportunity to teach you.
Yeah.
I felt like we had so many backgrounds on the day that you came in. We had so many military uniforms to do that it's really just thanks for coming in. Head that way.
Yeah.
So do you find that rude, or?
Oh no, absolutely. Because I still even there is not, if it's not that face-to-face conversation, I'm still looking at how things are run, and I'm absorbing that information. So when I was in Abbott and you taught me all those tricks in the truck about optical motion sensor, those little things, and just working in Rebel Moon and seeing how you guys run the set and all that stuff, the builds and everything, whether we have a conversation or not, like I'm looking around and trying to learn as much, or even just asking questions, whether it be to like Ron, asking him like, how you guys working this? Because I'm trying to like be at your level and not bring my own way of doing things. I'm trying to adapt to a system that's been established. So even if there's not a face-to-face conversation, I'm still learning from the you guys' team. And I think that's, to me, is the overwhelming.
So you learned
part.
how to be grouchy and
So to me, that's like that's a huge privilege when I day play on different shows. And the overwhelming part comes with knowing who I'm working for, and obviously going like, oh yeah, I love Kenobi, and I was like, oh my god, I'm working with a guy who did Kenobi, who did Avatar 2 and 3. Or when I was with Doug Fox at the beginning, I think that's what helped when I was working with Doug, that I didn't know who Doug Fox was until someone asked me, I'm like, do you know who Doug is? And I was like, no. It's like, you should look him up. And then I realized, and then the intimidation came in, because I was like, oh my god, like, so yeah, I would love to prop master, because I look up to the prop masters, and I think that what they do is phenomenal. I think we are completely overlooked as a department, because if you go to Comic-Con, like, it's costumes, makeup, and props.
that's what always amazes me.
The fans really show up, and that's one of the reasons I love WonderCon, Comic-Con, Dragon Con. That's another con.
That's not
That's
what
a different thing?
That's not. Yeah.
I've been to WonderCon, and I don't like big crowds, so I'm not really good at Comic-Con, but I do love seeing, especially the cardboard cosplayers, the people that build low tech but still represent.
I meant to say earlier, my dad just mailed me a Polaroid of me at like 5 years old in a cardboard knight outfit with a sword. Like,
can we put the picture up
put
when
that
we
up?
do this?
Oh
yeah,
I'll send you a picture. It's really great. But
so
it was again that full circle moment.
You both had these magical sort of origins where it, like a lot of people have to fight hard to get in the door, and it seemed like making connections, and I mean, you moved to a whole other country to get in the door, but you kept going. The industry is different today than it was when you guys were stepping through that door for the first time. What advice would you give to somebody who is, perfectly fresh-faced, the new shiny penny that shows up in Los Angeles saying, I want to work in the movies because when I was X years old, I saw this and it blew me away. We all have that story, but what advice would you give now?
Now it's a little tricky, because obviously with the climate that our industry is going through, with work leaving town and some work coming back, and then there are a lot of people who are, obviously you look at the Facebook forums and there's a lot of people saying like, oh, I just joined the union, moved to LA, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a huge believer in faith. Like I do believe that things happen for a reason. We're not going to find out what the reason is now. And it's so easy to look at the negatives and look at the positives. I always try to tell people, if you really want to do something, like, don't half-ass it, go 100%. You will find your path. You will find the path. Everybody gets in the industry differently, but determination and drive will eventually get you there. So yeah, there will be obstacles, and there will always be obstacles. Even when the industry is thriving, there are still obstacles.
But this has been the normal for the two of you. You did not grow up in the world that we did, so you don't know the generation that we came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, if I were to give advice to someone, it's like, if your heart is in it, like, give it 100%.
Yeah.
Don't, build a community, because you're only going to be as good as as people you surround yourself with. Build a good community, and you just give it your whole heart into it, and you will get there. It may take time, and it may not be an overnight process, but because obviously, that's one of the things that I look, is like, if I were to have a conversation with 5-year-old me, I would have been like, yeah, good thing, just look at us where we are now. It took so long. It took 15 years to move to here and do all this stuff and starting the theater and whatever. And now I'm living that dream. So yeah, I would just say, just have drive, be humble, be honest with yourself, because a lot of people say that they want to be in the industry, but they're not 100% sure that they want to be in the
You have
industry.
to want to do this.
So you can't like it, you have to love it, right?
Well, what would you say, Miss Dom?
I agree with Alfonso, but I would also say, I think that kind people find kind people.
Yes.
And so, like Alfonso was saying, building the community. I also, I really benefited from being open to meeting, and to be cautious, but to be open to meeting people, because you never know who's going to lead you to the next, to the opportunity that you've been looking for. I also would say, be kind, not just to others, but to yourself, and to make sure that you have, for someone who's just getting into this, it's unstable. It's not the stable industry that it once was right now. And so, you need to have, you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself, financially as well as mentally, that, until you're able to get to, a more comfortable place, I'd say. But yeah, just, be open to opportunities, but to take care of yourself as well.
I think one of the things you said, Livy, that stuck with me was that you were doing all the badges and you knew all the names and you knew all the faces. I am terrible with names and faces. I had to look both of you up before doing this podcast just to make sure that I was like, I think her name's Livy. Olivia?
That's why there's dude and bro.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, man. But I think, one of the things that probably helped you out on Kenobi is you were just friendly, and you weren't, you popped up onto the prop truck and it was like, oh, that's a nice energy. Like,
I've always hired people I like a lot of times before I know what their qualifications are. The days are too long and too much stress, and I really want to be with people whose company I enjoy.
Time with each other.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes just too much. I think I know Alfonso's answer, and we'll let you get to this, but you already kind of answered this question. And one of the things that, I have all these canned questions that I seem to be coming back to, but I think they're fun. Miss Olivia Dom, if you could work on any project, past, present, or future, and have that be a movie, TV show, reality, whatever, game show, what would that be? I think I know the answer, but what would that be and why?
You know the answer, and it's probably going to be the same as Alfonso.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe we should both. Okay,
on three.
On three. Ready?
On three.
1, 2. Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So this was the film that just blew you guys away.
Okay, but I have another answer though.
Yeah, bring it.
I knew that we would have the same answer, so I'm like, okay, obviously Jurassic Park's just obvious, but then the second one might be Dinotopia, actually.
Yeah, we were talking about it.
Yeah.
That would
For
be...
those who don't know, it was so Dinotopia is a series of books by James Gurney, who is an artist who actually lives here, I believe, in Pasadena, and he was a National Geographic illustrator, and he came up with these beautiful large format.
I remember the books.
The books, the coffee table books.
Books are terrific.
And talk about prop design. I'm looking through them, and every aspect of the society he just worked out of all of how the dinosaurs interact with objects, how humans do, everything from who takes care of dinosaur waste to how do dinosaurs read, on and on and on. So those books always inspired me as a kid. And then I can't remember when exactly it came out, but there was a mini series that ABC adapted, and it won, I think, Visual Effects Emmy at the time, and then it spawned a TV show that was not quite as good. But the mini series, it's a beautiful adaptation. You feel the love that got put into it from all of the from everybody, every department. And so I think that's probably one that I would have loved to have worked on. Nice. Just bringing those books to life. They're so beautiful.
There's still time. A dinosaur utopia. So I know you're both interested in dinosaurs. Have you read this latest news about the Spinosaurus baby that they just genetically built?
I saw that.
But I mean, is that exciting? It's like Jurassic Park
what is this?
now.
Tell me.
So, the work in the world of genome is nothing that I could even pretend to know about. But
we've dabbled a little bit on the prop trailer, but
yeah,
not that much.
We all got our first CRISPR, but there's a Spinosaurus that's basically been engineered genetically based on whatever sequencing that they could do from fossil records and whatever genetic material they have, and then they just fill in the blanks, which is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And there's this picture, and I looked it up because I'm like, oh, that's going to be crap. That's obviously fake. And it's like, no, I think this might be real.
That's what I thought too when I saw it. I thought like, oh, this is one of those AI algorithms things.
Yeah.
But I dug a little deeper, not too deep, but so it's real, right? They made a little
Yeah,
Spinosaurus
apparently they
baby.
did, yeah.
They're so cute when they're little. This
Yeah.
thing was like in the palm of a hand.
What did it?
Yeah.
They're
Where
cute
did
when
it
they're
come
little.
from?
I don't know, science.
No, but what was it born from? Was it literally just?
This you're asking me now.
Wow.
But I told you I don't know this stuff, and you just can't. Okay, you had to bring it. I don't know. I didn't even read the article. I just looked at the picture because I was so blown away.
Yeah.
I'm more about pictures.
Yeah, no, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat because they just also discovered, right, the new
Yeah.
the new species of Spinosaurus.
Is that the one that was in the vomit?
No,
'Cause there was
that's
another
that's
dinosaur.
a different dinosaur.
Yeah.
This
We're
is
all
the-
about tangents on Prop
This
Talk,
is
by
the
the way.
Spinosaurus mirabilis, which
Yeah.
is the unicorn Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
It's got
Oh
this
yes,
beautiful
you showed me
crest.
some pictures of that.
Yeah.
So,
I
does
love
that
the
change? Do you have a
Spinosaurus.
new favorite dinosaur now that we have the unicorn dinosaur?
My answer when that discovery was made was I have a tie between right now the Parasaurolophus and the Spinosaurus, but I think it might be now the Spinosaurus mirabilis and the Parasaurolophus.
Do you prefer your dinosaur with feathers or without?
Oh, I love. There's a really great image on someone drew of a T-Rex, but with the kind of downy feathers of like a pigeon, and it's just the fluffiest, cutest little dinosaur.
I've seen
You've
that.
seen
Yeah.
that? I'm sure I showed it to you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur are the compies.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
we're making connections here
Yeah.
today, people. On
Have
Prop
you ever
Talk.
seen the book? It's a book that from the time I was a kid, I would love to see a movie made. The Enormous Egg.
The enormous egg. No.
You don't know this book.
No.
It's a children's book. Liv, you would love it. It takes place in the 50s when the book was written, and it's about this farm boy whose chicken lays this enormous egg, and a triceratops is hatched from it.
Oh wow.
That's like my dream.
And it is the most magical book. I bought it for my son when he was a little boy, and to this day, it's amazed me that it's yet to become a movie.
Yeah.
All right,
But the book is still in
start
print.
writing.
But for in terms of a movie that's been made, everything, but like a book that or an idea that you would want to see be made into a movie, because I know my answer for an adaptation I desperately want to work on.
For me, it would be David Benioff's City of Thieves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Animorphs. Yeah, and shout out to Ryan Coogler,
Yeah.
who's just optioned that for Disney Plus. I would kill to work on that.
I got to start making some phone calls.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'd kind of kill to work on anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's no. There's always. I'm very fortunate. There's always something coming down the pipe. That's for sure.
Nice.
It's good. Can I ask a question on the going back to our jobs and everything, Alfonso? What kind of shoes do you wear on set? Because that's something I'm always cycling through as an assistant props person.
Like what kind of shoes?
Yeah, like what's your favorite kind of
That's a
on-set
really good
shoe?
question.
Yeah,
I
'cause-
think I'd go through a lot of different brands and a lot
Yeah.
of different pairs. I would go from Hoka's to New Balances.
Okay.
New Balance is my favorite.
New Balance?
And obviously when I was in Utah working in Horizon, that was just hiking shoes
Yeah.
every day. And I think I bought 3 pairs because just wearing the same
Yeah.
pair every day, it was just killing my feet. And at that point, I don't even remember the brands that I got. I just knew that they were comfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm actually right now I'm in search for new shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was using Allbirds for a while there because they're really breathable. They're really
Yeah.
nice. And there are some of the sneakers you can get and they have kind of like the waterproof lining just around the edge. So if you like step in not in a deep puddle, but in something shallow, it's still breathable and keeps your feet dry.
Shoes are so critical for our departments
Yeah.
because
Yes.
like
We're on
we're
our feet so
doing.
much.
I mean, a 12,000 step day is probably a pretty small one. And, it's not unheard of for especially property
drop a
assistants
pair
to
of-
get into 20,000 steps
Yeah.
in a day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I drop a pair of Dr. Scholl's insoles into every shoe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The really thick foam sports insoles,
Okay.
which are wonderful. Beginning
Yeah.
of every show, I pick
Yeah.
up a
I'm
fresh
actually
pair.
in a shoe crisis right now
You
because
are.
I'm a big fan of Vask. It's the shoe. I'll take it off and show you. It's this really great hiking. Here it is for anybody watching. I'm going to put it back on. It's a really great shoe that solved my problems with sore feet, but also shin splints, which I was getting, standing around on, concrete all
That's
day.
why I find the insoles really help with
And
that.
Yeah.
this shoe solved that problem. So I immediately went out and I bought 10 pair. I think I spent at the time like $900 on shoes, and I just put them away.
I do
And
the same
when
thing. When I
'cause it
find
was
a pair I like.
Here's a
Yeah.
solution. I'm just going to be Shaggy
Sure.
with my shoes and wear the same. Shaggy from Scooby-Doo wears the same clothes
Yeah.
every day.
Duh.
And I think they've stopped making it. And so, and I've gone through, 20 pair of these shoes over the past, 8-9 years or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Because you just wear them out. So
Yeah.
I'm a little panicky. These are my last pair of
Oh, no.
all black Basque.
Listeners of
They're
Prop Talk,
shoes.
please write in and give
Yeah.
us your shoe
Yeah, because
recommendations. 'cause we're
Poshmark's
so
not making it
desperate.
happen for me.
Out in Oxnard is a New Balance factory outlet.
Oh, good to know.
Which is wonderful. And I'll do the same thing. There's one pair of shoes that I absolutely love. They have a really thick sole. I put the insole in them in addition. But when I went there, I would buy like a dozen pair because
Yeah.
I found a pair I wanted and I didn't want those to go away.
Yeah.
So now I just have a whole closet full of the shoes.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
into like shoes that nurses wear, but I still need the outdoor treads. Is the
Yes.
thing. So it's the balance of I need something that I can stand on for 12 hours, but
Or
also
moving up from shoes, how about
Yeah.
pants? Because I found really good cargo pants at REI.
Cargo pants, yes.
I found
that's what I
cargo
use.
pants
Yeah.
at REI. They have a zipper on the side that allow you to it ventilates.
Yeah.
And it's great with lots of pockets. They have reinforced knees.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And those are my prop pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a great set of joggers. I have like 6 pair now, and they've got 2 side pockets with Velcro, so I can throw, put props in. It's big enough for a Kindle, if you're just wearing them around, and zipper pockets as well. This is a really great tangent, actually.
Yeah.
But we should really relax on the free ads. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, we are throwing a bunch out because we are, there is the possibility of sponsorship here as well, and so we're hoping for that. And while we are actually, today's Prop Talk is brought to you by Cargo Pants, and I just want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Cargo Pants, the pants with extra pockets. You guys, when I'm on set and I need to carry more than my hands will allow, the extra pockets in a pair of cargo pants can really save the day. Or maybe it's at the end of the day and I'm wrapping up the trailer and it's time to sneak some extra craft service for the long ride home. There's nothing like a good pair of cargo pants. So, folks, the next time you're shopping for pants, try Cargo Pants, the pants with extra pockets, now in both shorts and full length.
I wear them, and so should you.
And, if you out there would like to become a sponsor of Prop Talk, the official podcast of the Property Masters Guild, reach out to info@propertymastersguild.org. That's info, I-N-F-O, at propertymasters, plural, guild.org. Just had to put a little plug out there.
Oh, those are the ones.
So more pants. How did we get to pants? We started off so sophisticated. This is really important, and I've said this a million times. Property Masters, and I personally feel like I ride on the shoulders of giants, and there are so many people that support the Property Master, and it's high time that you guys get a lot more recognition. And so this is one of the avenues that I'm hoping will allow for that. And so it's exciting to hear your perspectives. Is there anything you've found, like we all learn by example and we all learn by counter example? Is there anything that you've found in your career, without naming names, unless it's me, because you can throw me under the bus. I make mistakes all the time. But what are some of the things that are hard for you to deal with, especially if you're day playing and you're not with your usual, the 2 or 3 or however many usual property masters keep hiring you? What's a difficult thing to do when you're out there? What makes it hard?
When you're just day playing?
Yeah, or you're working with a property master you haven't worked with before and you see something that you don't like.
It's like what I was asking you about when you were working on the Old Man, when it's busy and you're just thrown out into the field with not much of an introduction to what you're going to be facing for the day.
I think though, I think it's really great because from my perspective, when I'm day playing, I come into it knowing I've been brought on. Somebody has made the argument to bring on the extra labor. I get to go home after today, and I don't have to stay awake at night thinking about what, necessarily, what the work that's going to have to do for the rest of the show, right? So I always try to come into day playing with just this attitude of, I'm here. At the end of the day, I get to go home. And so I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the best support that I can be. So, it's like, I think that I've met some day players who come on and they'll get really frustrated and they'll be very critical, and there's a time and a place for that. Like, I'm not saying that you can't have your own opinion, but when you're there to support, and you're there to, adapt to what the situation calls for. So I think if I were to say anything, I think sometimes you come on and you can see that they've been really pressed, and so the organization might not be quite there. And so that might be the one thing that I would find, somewhat difficult, but I try not to come into it holding it against, because I'm not there day to day. I don't know, what it is.
Have you ever worked on a show that either because of the prop master or the prop crew or just the show in general, you just said, I'm not coming back?
Oh,
Oh,
I don't
think so.
I don't think so. No, I've been very fortunate to work with really good people, but also it's,
Yeah, I don't think so.
Is there a certain amount of support that you see some property masters giving to their on-set team and others don't? Like, for example, I early on would do a daily breakdown, and I didn't ever have the advantage of actually like learning from anybody. I got thrown into prop mastering very early and didn't have a whole lot of examples to draw from. So I was kind of making it up as I went. And it's unfortunate that was the path, because I made a lot of mistakes. But one of the things that I started doing was just a daily breakdown on a piece of paper. Here's today. Here's the scene. Here are the props that you should have. Here's some descriptions of them, maybe who uses them, maybe how they're used. I don't know is that something everybody does, or is that unique? Is that useful? Is it like, it's those types of tools. What tools can a prop master give you to help you do your job better?
Yeah.
Other than, a Rubbermaid cart and on-set cart.
But there's also different degrees of day playing.
Yeah.
There are times where you're brought in as one of 20 day players, and then there are times where you're brought in
But this can
as
be outside
2
of
or
day
3.
playing too. This can just be in a regular crew. Like, what works?
Daily breakdowns are great. I think breakdowns just in general, if you have access to, everybody on the team should have access to those breakdowns, so that if, a scene gets moved up or changed, you can see what was previously decided on. And, breakdowns are fluid, but it's nice to have that kind of basis, of knowing what it is we're doing.
I think giving information, like, obviously, because I was just day playing on the studio, and obviously, like, they've been going for a minute now. And the team, the core team was really good at passing down the information and be like, okay, this is so-and-so. Reach out to them if you need any help with the background or whatever. This is for you.
Yeah.
Like, this is what this, obviously I didn't get any, sometimes we'll get sites and sometimes not, because they will try to keep it as secret as possible. But the team will at least give us a gist of like what's happening in the scene. They're going to do this, they're going to hand out this to background. So, I want one of you guys to be in charge of tracking that. So, it was not necessarily like a breakdown, but it like a written breakdown, but it was like a verbal breakdown. And obviously, like, as we all have dealt with background before, so it's not something that is completely overwhelming. It's just you're playing catch up at the, almost like at the speed of light, and trying to be at the level. And like you said, just be as supportive as possible. Like, if they're bringing you in, it's because they need the help, and be like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to do this. And after that's completed, me personally, I always go to the core team. Is like, okay, is there anything else?
Yeah. What else can I do to help?
Where can I help you? Do you need help at the truck? You need help here?
And that will get you hired back again and again.
Yep.
Like, I have worked with really good people, and I've also worked with the folks that, like, once their job is done, they just kind of disappear off somewhere, and they've got their walkie probably, but they're on their phone. And it's like, instead of, to Livy's point, the job is never done. There's always,
there's something
you can
else.
always clean and tidy up a cart. You can always sweep a truck. It's a constant fight against sort of just the natural entropy of the prop department, where we just have too much stuff and organization is difficult.
And to speak on that too, I think something that would be really helpful for, a full-time crew or your day players is for a property master is keeping your kit, keeping current on what's in your kit, and, being very, specific and giving direction to, your day players. If you're sending them, hey, go to the truck, trying to give them as specific a direction as possible as to where something is, and having a kit that is oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Having a kit that's easy to navigate as well. Because I've been on some trucks
Not
where
a mess.
I've been on some trucks where kit is falling out of the cabinets. Things aren't labeled, bins aren't labeled, stuff inside of it is just tossed inside.
Or bins are labeled only on one side. I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
Every one of my bins has labels on both
Both
sides. So no matter
sides.
what way you put the bin in,
Yeah.
there's always a label facing
Every
out.
one of
Yeah.
my bins has a little electronic chip in it, and it knows that you're looking at it, and then it just says what's inside of it out loud.
What I've actually
It's
done...
very expensive, but it's really useful.
Is that on your second truck? I don't think I'm familiar
It's
with
on my
bins.
it's on my imagination truck.
Oh, I
and,
see.
you know, we talk about trucks, and
Yeah.
as you guys move from one prop master to another, every truck is a very different
Yes.
expression of how that
Yes.
property master works.
Yes.
So
A truck says more about you than anything else.
it probably does.
does.
And I know my trailer is different than a lot of others. I pride myself on having tons of empty shelf space because I don't need 3 bins of coffee cups where still
Right.
it won't be right.
Mm-hmm.
My truck is also very much geared towards making because
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of one of my styles. I've got 2 workbenches. I've got a clean one and a dirty one. Not intentionally the dirty one. I just need some more money to put a nice butcher block on it. But I would imagine that everybody, as you guys flow through,
Mm-hmm.
like what do you think makes a good prop trailer?
Labels on both sides of the
Yes.
bins.
A flow to it.
A flow to it,
Yeah.
and also accessibility, that you're able to take down bins, you're not having to fight to get something out. I think
I think that the flow of like keeping things within its family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've
Right, like
also
my
been,
trailer has a flow to it.
yeah, because I've at the beginning, like I've been in situations where like you're looking for let's say coffee cups, and you go where you think the coffee cups might be, and they're not there, and then there's some like they're next to the medical bins, and you're just like, okay. So I think like the organization just having a
Yeah.
flow, so it's easy for things to find, especially like if you're a day player. Sometimes they'll send you to the truck, and they'll be like, hey, go get me this. It's in the truck, shelf, whatever. So like if it's easy to find, like you can get it. If not, you're just spending 5-10 minutes going through
See,
someone's
what
trailer.
I've done for that is I've printed out an inventory list that and I need to update it, but I'll keep it on the prop cart.
Oh, sure.
So that if you need coffee cups, you look in the list and it'll say bin number 7.
Oh,
and then when
great.
you're on the truck, it'll just save you that step.
Yeah.
But also there is a flow. So all of my home goods are together.
Yeah.
Then it kind of works into art supplies and medical and police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my whole truck is art supplies.
I've done that with Brad's jockey boxes because the bins on the truck are one thing and they can be moved around and adapted and
jockey
everything. But the
boxes.
jockey boxes can be it's nice to have to know before you go down digging and in the jockeys what you're looking for and where
And
to
just for
go.
clarity, the jockey boxes are those like the things that ride underneath the truck. It's like it's most semis on the freeway you're going to see do not have jockey boxes. This is
Yeah.
storage that goes under.
It's the basement.
Yeah.
It's the base. It's where
basement
things
of
are
the prop
banished.
truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this all up, you guys are really prominent members of the Property Masters Guild as it is. Alfonso, you are the first recipient of the President's Award, which congratulations
Thank
once
you.
again. It's a beautiful trophy. I know because I designed it. And Livy Dom is the first associate on the board. And as associates, what value are you finding from the Property Masters Guild? Like, what's your pitch to other people? Like, should I join? It's $250 or whatever it is. What would you tell other people who are on the fence?
It's it's about finding the community. I think really I became involved in the Property Masters Guild because the people that I wanted to work with, the people who I wanted to learn from, they were involved. And so, one thing leads to another, and suddenly I'm, observing so many board meetings because I just wanted to learn how it is that the guild operates. So for me, being in the guild is about being a part of the community. It's got a great magazine. We put on great events, but it also, being connected with, really strong players in our industry that you can learn from and meet at these events and talk to has been invaluable. Just absolutely wonderful.
So you would recommend?
Yeah.
That would be a yes.
That'd be a
You
yes.
can check off a yes.
Yes.
No, I think it's one of the things that I really love about what our guild does, especially with the associates program, is that one, it separates everybody else who is also on 44, right? And it just it just puts a magnifying glass on, like, this is the property, people, because obviously when
It's our own house.
yeah, because when you're 44, obviously we know that greens are in the special effects, are in the set dressers, so it's a larger community. And being as when they're looking for someone's looking for an assistant prop master, they call the hall, like they just call the hall, and if you're in the property roster, they'll call you. But with us, like things like understanding in the guild, like they're like, okay, these are associates, which means that these are the people who are property assistants, assistant prop masters. And yeah, it's like we're like, yeah, like you are in the community of the property craft, and yeah, I joined because obviously, Jeff Johnson was, I was working for Jeff Johnson, and
who is the current president? Property
yeah,
Masters.
and so I went to one of the tailgate parties that they had, but I went the first one, and it was so nice to see prop people.
That's what I love about it. Same thing.
And I that's what got me to join. It's like this is the people I spend most of my time with on set.
Yeah.
And we talk about work, and we talk about our successes and our failures. It's like, yeah, I like joining that community and being part of that big family. I was like, yeah, this is really amazing that the guild does that.
And with membership too, access to the classes.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, the classes are fabulous.
Yeah, the classes are great. Like I took the manufacturing class not so long ago, and like it's one of those things when you don't have the time to when you're day playing, have face-to-face time with the prop master. Like that's a really great opportunity.
So this was the workshop that the guild did at SAT for talking about design and manufacture.
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity to actually learn how the prop masters like deal with this particular aspect, because sometimes you don't have the time to really ask questions or pick someone's brain. So that was really great, and then you have prop masters leading it, and guiding it, and teaching it. So that is I thought that was a very cool thing to be doing.
Well, and there's no, and please, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no prop program in a school. Like when I went to school, I didn't even know that being a property master, having a career, having health insurance was a thing, which is so saddening, that there are kids who are they're paying, hundreds of thousands of dollars for an education in mostly theory and mostly aesthetic when it comes to film, but the practicalities of our industry are getting kind of lost. And with the guild, you are getting classes in doing property work and doing props and manufacturing, in getting clearances and all of these aspects, because there is no course to go to this. You can't go to a school and get, a degree in proptology or whatever it is.
And it shines a light too for those who are not in the industry. Like sort of explains to them like what we actually do.
Well, we have been having some conversations. These are very preliminary about like one of the things that Special Effects does is they have a like 14 or something week course at through Contract Services, I believe, where you can learn to be a special effects person. And we're starting to play with the idea of, can we from zero teach what it is to be a property master? And I think that as the guild progresses, we have a very it's a very strong education based guild. That's why we're a 501c3. And these classes, these educational opportunities are at the core, I think, of the mission. And so I'm glad that you're both taking advantage of them,
because you're learning on the day. You're learning while doing it.
Well, it's like our first jobs, right?
That never stops.
So I think it's great because because the people that don't know our industry, like I still get questions when they ask us like, what do you do? I was like, I'm in the property department. They hear the word property and they think I'm in the real estate part. They're like, oh, so you get the locations. I was like, no, that's location.
Or you do the curtains.
Or you're talking to someone and like something tangentially, and it'll come up and I go, like, oh yeah, and like, when we did this and blacksmithing, and they go, what? How do you know? How do you know this? And so prop people have to learn a little bit about a lot of things for our jobs.
Yeah, I keep saying I'm only ever 2 YouTube videos away from knowing how to do anything.
I used to call that on my resume rapid skill acquisition, and that was code for I can watch YouTube and I can figure out like how I learned how to make custom fonts that you can type.
Sure.
The internet, just rapid, just
it's
quickly.
Great when a producer says, how do you know how to do that? And they're so amazed, and they're thinking, how this person has figured this out, and we just watched 2 YouTube videos.
Well, but to that point, like on Rebel Moon, for example, we're into 13, I think, different planets and a mothership or something like that over the course of the 2 movies. And we wanted to create our own fonts. Production had hired somebody who was like a font specialist and paid them like thousands and thousands of dollars to create some special fonts for our space movies. And, I want to do something similar. And Livy's just over in the office next door, and I'm like, and she's like, oh yeah, here you go. And we crank out fonts, and she's like, here's the program. I think it's a $5 program. You can do it too. And I make a font, and it's like knowing how to get to the knowledge is really, really critical.
Yeah.
So. And I should have charged more.
You should have charged so much
it's
more.
It's a $5,000.
You could have gotten like a sushi lunch out of it.
Oh, man.
We're running low on time. I want to leave you both with one quick question. What is your favorite moment on set up to this time? We're going to go out on a really positive, shiny note.
On set. I think mine was offset, and it's not on screen. It was on screen. It didn't make the cut. I remember when I was working in The Offer, Giovanni Ribisi was playing the main guy from the Italian American League. And he had this binder that, obviously, as we all know, like, we're never supposed to see the inside of the binder. And if we are, the couple of pages that were made, for us to see. And he had the idea of just flipping through it. And he was like, well, I would like to like flip through it because, I'm pitching like the creation of the Italian American League. So should be able to see, I want to, skip through it. And I remember the person on set, Dustin, he came out to me and he was like, hey, because I was the truck person. He said, hey, so Giovanni wants to flip through it, but we only have so many pages, and he wants to flip through the whole. It's a 3-ring binder. And I was like, okay. And like, how much time do I have? And he was like, well, I think it's like a 45-minute, hour, lighting process. And I was like, okay, so I can't print this. It has to be typewritten because it was the 60s. So we rented 2 typewriters to have on our shorty just for those specific reasons. And I sat down. I went to the website because there is an Italian American League, and I reached out to Paramount and I clearances. I said, hey, I need to type something in here that may or may not be on camera. But if it's on camera, I want to make sure that it's clear. And they have a really nice introduction at the homepage. Can I do that? Can you find out if that's okay? And obviously they have to make the call to New York and do this whole thing. In the meantime, I'm already typing it because I was like, it's typewriting, and I haven't used the typewriter in forever. And so I ended up doing, I think it was 60 to 100 pages, and put them in there, give it to our team on set. I guess the shot started there and him skimming through the pages. You see that stuff, and then he pulls back, see Giovanni and the rest of the crew.
It's a great moment.
When the episode aired,
all gone.
Oh god.
Well, we put the paint on the palette whether they choose to paint with it or not.
So,
what about you, Miss Dom? What's your favorite industry moment so far?
And it could be today.
Yeah, it may just
could be right now.
Yes.
When I kicked out your microphone plug.
I'm so happy to be doing what I'm doing. I feel days can get hard, but I really enjoy what I'm doing right now, which means a lot in terms of a favorite moment, because I'm not going to rank them. There's always that moment of joy when they last minute and on any show where they last minute call for something and I know exactly where it is on the trailer, or it's something that came, where we can bring something back from, 2 scenes ago, but I know where I've squirreled it away and can bring that out. But I think a really fun one was on Avatar when we did the reshoots, and it's a scene that unfortunately got cut from the final product, but it was a last minute, we need full salmon sashimi steaks, like sashimi grade, so that the actor, because Jim Cameron's all about practicality, getting the motion capture and the reference of the actual action of an actor is doing. And it was so last minute because they kept cutting the scene, and then one day they said, we're going to shoot this after lunch. How are we going to get and so then of course the prop department is, how are we going to get these steaks? And thankfully, 6 months prior, Lisa Mack Corbin had taken me to lunch down at, I think it was Redondo, at a pier. And I knew that fish market had sashimi grade fish steak. So it's one of those where, I think that's another piece of advice I would give for anybody interested in doing props is go experience stuff, go live life, go explore LA, explore, not just the prop houses, but also every bit of your life can be something that you pull from in that moment. So having gone to that fish market that day, I knew that that's where we're going to go.
No, that was
and we're going to spend hundreds of dollars on sashimi steaks. And then, Jim, notorious vegan, takes a bite and is like, yep, that looks good. And then
He did spit it out.
He did spit it out. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yes,
his
his performance capture verisimilitude is on point.
Yeah.
And this was a scene where somebody was supposed to have basically caught a fish and eating it raw. And the crew, we went because we bought so much. I think we were over $900 in fish that afternoon. And we made sure to send it home with the crew that they could all enjoy, because, we hate the waste.
We're never more popular than when we're offering free
when we're handing out
snacks,
free sashimi for everybody. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I do believe it's time to wrap up. But thank you guys.
Do you want to
so
lead us
much
in the closing song?
Yeah. Do you want to start it off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Come on, wing it.
Da, 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 da. Right?
The Jurassic Park theme song. Beautiful. I picked that out in 3 notes. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Prop Talk. Like, subscribe, all those things. And seriously, if you do want to be a sponsor, reach out. And we'll see you next time
At the movies.